personalities, leaders, achievers, captains of industry, innovators, masterful storytellers, creatives, and entertainers, all hosted by a master of the game.
His Royal Blackness, KKD,
the finest.
Catch Master of the Game on CTV. Oh yes, nuggets of inspiration and delightful treats for your enjoyment. Whether you love power, money, beauty, or fame, there is so much to learn from Master of the Game. Only in the place to be. The coolest channel, CTV. Morning and welcome to Master of the Game, the program on which we bring you the movers, shakers, icons, and legends of our beloved motherland Ghana. My name is Darkwah, Kwasi Kyei Darkwah, and I'm delighted to be united with you on Master of the Game. We're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at MyCTVGH. That's MyCTVGH. We're also piping hot on Accra 100.5 FM and Class 91.3 FM. Don't miss this program because I have a very special personality with me. They say the triumvirate that creates those structures and stories that give you those memories and help you understand the culture you are from and also tells you about the stories that lie ahead of you is made up of the producer, the director, and the actor. People have argued over years who is the most important. The point remains that the actor can produce and direct himself. And when he so does, he's just a one-man stage act. I have with me a great actor, one we call a legend in our beloved motherland Ghana. On television, he brought us the stories of our lives in the program Obra. On TV, he made sure that every program of his ended with words of wisdom that will enlighten and uplift the young. And on stage, he brought us stories that called us to action. But then in film, from Road to Accra, Kukrantumi Road to Accra, to Dede, to No Time to Die, to Deadly Voyage and more, this man has printed images on our minds that are unforgettable. He himself is an unforgettable man who was displayed on a calendar for Ghana's most loved brand, Golden Tree, 2 years ago, and what a delight it was. With me today is the one and only David Dontoh. Uncle David, as everybody calls you.
Hello.
Always a delight to see you.
All my pleasure.
Always a delight to see you.
I'm so happy to be with you.
Oh, yes, Uncle David.
Especially when I see the Incredibles, I fall in love so much because, like Kwame Nkrumah said, I'm African. Not because I was born in Africa, but because Africa was born in me.
That's right. That's
so
right.
You must show who you are, what you are.
Wherever we go, we take a little piece of our culture with us.
Exactly.
I am so happy for you to join us on Master of the Game.
Thank you.
Without a doubt, you are a master of the game. We cannot talk about acting, film, television, and stage in Ghana without mentioning David Dontoh.
Thank you.
How did it all begin?
I was acting a bit when I was in secondary school. But you see, the whole interest in acting actually started when I was a kid in Cape Coast. I lived in a big compound house. In fact, Chief Bukwahin's house, I confer the hint of Cape Coast, his house, that's where I was born.
You were born in Cape Coast,
exactly.
In the chief's house?
Yes. And so we had about maybe 30 families, you can imagine. So number of children that were in that house.
Was that what they call a compound house?
Well, we had a big yard.
Okay.
And then a story building, the Cape Coast story buildings.
Okay.
And surrounding us were other, short houses in which families lived, all kinds of families lived. And interestingly, that house, we had teachers, we had civil servants, we had taxi drivers, we had fishermen. In fact, my mother was a fishmonger. We had drivers of all kinds. And it was a place where, as you grow up, you have no choice but to pick so many ideas and so many tricks. You are sensitized by a variety of characters, such that
characters
exactly, such that as you grow up, you you pick all those things. And so, right from Cape Coast, I had picked, and Fanti, interestingly, is a language that has a lot of flourishes. And I grew among my mother and her siblings were 10. But all the 10 of them, 8 were women, only 2 were men. And you can imagine women chatting, gossiping, talking about so many things. And so I picked so much from the language that they were using those times, such that I became more or less a kind of Ochiami to my colleagues, my peers. When anytime we met and we were chatting, they would say, "Hey, I told you now so," And it was all because Fanti as a language has so many flourishes that when you learn it and you speak it, you can say the same thing in 3, 4, 5 different ways.
Give me an example in Fanti.
Oh, asumesi oyewuradan.
Oyebazi.
Ewuradan. Ewuradan means ehuruadan. He's a thief.
Oh, Radan.
So
you won't say Ewi.
No. And when a Fanti is gossiping about you, it's so interesting. You'll be sitting right there, he'll gossip about you, and you will never know. Because he's using, figurative language.
I wish I knew this word earlier. Because I wouldn't have called those people thieves. I would have called them Ewuradan.
So I just got interested in language per se. And that is how come when I came to secondary school, I schooled, elementary school, I schooled in Cape Coast, I schooled in Winneba. And then secondary school, I went to Apam Secondary School. At secondary school level, with those days that we did English, we did Latin, and all of that. When I got to Form 4, those times, when you get to Form 4, you have to choose to do science or the arts. But we were so good.
Hold it.
Myself.
I spoke to 2 of your classmates.
Oh, really?
Yes. And they said, David was very good in literature, but we all thought that he would be a doctor.
Certainly so. I did chemistry, physics, biology, and mathematics in sixth form. And all the idea was to do medicine. And it was because in Winneba, when I was schooling in Winneba, we went and stole mangoes. And they chased that as we were running away, we jumped over walls. And one of our colleagues...
One
of our colleagues landed, on broken bottles and he slashed his palm. And you can imagine, boys and girls, I decided to go for a needle and black thread and sutured it all together to stop the blood and everything. And he was wearing sweater, so he covered it. He went to the house in the evening. The pain was so much he couldn't hide it. So the mother saw it. The mother saw that, there has been a cut, but it's been so,
sutured.
Wow. Who did this? So the boy mentioned my name. Fortunately, we had 2 male nurses who were living in our house. So straight we drove to Winneba Hospital. And when we drove to Winneba Hospital, the doctor in charge looked at it, said, no, the way it's been done is so well done that I won't cut it and resuture. But I will just, put some antiseptics.
My worry is, did they have any bottles in there, or did you wash it before suturing?
Oh, yes. Interestingly, because when the blood was flowing, we thought we could use the water to, splash on it and the bleeding would stop. But he didn't. And that's how come I went for the needle and the thread. So the doctor just said, okay, I will dress it, I'll put all these things in and come back in 2 weeks' time. We went back to the hospital in 2 weeks' time. The suture had closed. He only cut and removed the threads, and he had his palm intact.
Wow. So that must be the reason why you...
So the people in the house were saying, hey, Dr. Ato, that if you are not someone who is so inclined to medicine or surgery or whatever, you will not try things like that. So that thing went into my head, and I was so much interested in going to be a medical doctor. But I also had that flair of language and, easy way around chatting with people. So the acting was also there. In fact, in my house, you know, my father himself was so good an actor, he never acted. But his younger brother was an actor who actually acted, you know, in concert parties. In those days, we had what we call lady impersonators.
True.
He was playing woman, or you know, women in the place that he had. And he was also a very good dancer and a very good singer. Madame Fupabeko. He actually sang the alto on that.
Interesting.
In that recording. He used to be with Happy Stars in Sanwó Madrejiri, you know.
Madame Fupabeko by Kofi Annie Johnson.
Kofi Annie Johnson
is one of the best written highlight songs ever.
Exactly. So, and when I went to Abakrampa, I actually schooled a bit. When there was the coup d'etat, and my father, you know, they were chasing my father to kill.
Which of the coup d'etats?
The 1966 coup d'etat. Interestingly, you know, I met Kwame Nkrumah.
You did?
I met him physically one-on-one. You know, because I schooled in Winneba, my father would go and drop me at school, and my other siblings, 2 brothers, and then he would go to work. And my stepmother had gone to the village to deliver, to have, you know, a child, when the coup happened. So my father ran away. But before that, my father would take us to school, and then he would go to work. That time he was working at Kwame Nkrumah Ideological Institute, Winneba.
Ideological Institute.
Exactly. And now, those days, we have what we call the Yale lock. When you shut the door from outside, you can't enter because there's no handle. So he made 2 of the keys, took one, and gave us one. Then we went and played as kids at school, and I lost the key. So I had to go to his office to go and get his copy of, because he would not come home that early. And we closed at 4, and he would come home by 8, you know. So I went there, and that time the Ideological Institute campus was such a huge place for me because I had never been to, you know. He drove us around there one evening, and that was all. So I was walking around when a security man met me and said, "Hey, what do you want here?" And so we have Papa. Who's your father? And I mentioned the name. Said, "Okay, come." He went and opened some long hall, 2 swing doors. Opened it. Said, "You see the chair at the back there? Go and sit on it. I'll go and look for him when he comes. I'll tell him that you are sitting here. He'll come for you." So I was just sitting there quietly waiting for my father to come. Then someone opened the door. Lo and behold, that was Kwame Nkrumah. Because I had seen him earlier in Cape Coast at Victoria Park, but I couldn't get close to him. But I knew his look, his face, and everything. So as soon as I saw him, so I just, propped myself up, just to, said, "Oh, Boko." Then he walked to me. That man has such a magical gaze. He had, Kwame has big eyes. He said, "Hey, oh, you wanna?" So, Papa, Papa, you wanna? Oh, Papa, Mr. Dontoh. Oh, Mr. Dontoh, you TMI.
Oh.
Then he shot the hand out. I shook his hand. Said, "Inima, say ku school, na mesinyo. Aye ku school is ya data. Tsna man ku bibia. Unhuna makache net se hurricane." Then he left. Then when he went out, he shut the door. And then just moments later, he opened again and just did that and shut it back again. And that was the first and the last time I saw Kwame Nkrumah. Because at that time we met. It was just about a month and about 4 days to the coup. 1966 coup. And when they did the coup, all the people who were working with Kwame Nkrumah at that time, they wanted to catch them, arrest them.
Why?
They were working with Kwame Nkrumah. So my father ran away. And we were living in Winneba. That time my stepmother had left. So I was there with my 2 siblings, 3 of us. I know how we were eating. I'll take a plastic, container, walk to the Kwame Nkrumah Ideological Institute pantry, and then the food that they couldn't serve, those that are left in the big bowl, those that are left, whatever, I asked for the woman. She'll collect them for me. I'll put it in the bucket and I'll bring it home, and that's how we're feeding ourselves for 2 weeks. And so I had.
Where did your father leave to?
Oh, he actually went to Abakrampa because a lot of people didn't know that he was from Abakrampa. I mean, he lived in Abakrampa. So he went to Abakrampa and then came back to Winneba one night, sent a message to some people that we should go and, see some man somewhere in Abasaba, Winneba, to, take care of us whilst, he puts things together. Then he came to
How young were you at this time?
Oh, that time I was about, since I was 11. Going on 12.
Did you understand the politics of the time?
No, but my father had made me understand that Kwame Nkrumah was a great man. And if you want to be great, you have to learn from him. You have to study him. You have to watch him. Everything. So from that age, I got so enamored of Kwame Nkrumah so much that I was reading his books, watching, everything about Kwame Nkrumah.
And was that the general atmosphere at the time? People saw Kwame Nkrumah as a great man?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. People knew that man was great because so many stories are told about Kwame Nkrumah, that he was a wizard and all of that. Those who worked with him in his office, he will be the last person to leave the office. But the next morning, when you go to the office, you meet him there. So people were saying they don't know when he slept. He had so many tricks, and that man was such a hard working. Can you imagine being in power for 9 years and writing 16 books? What time was he doing it? And you go to Parliament, finish, come and do some office work at Flagstaff House, and drive to Winneba to go and give lecture at the Radiological Institute, where Sam Nujoma, may he rest in peace, just died last 2 days. Mugabe, Nyerere, Kamuzu Banda, and they were all schooling at the Kwame Nkrumah Radiological Institute. So people knew that, hey, if other presidents will come to his school and he will teach them, then he's a great man. That is how people saw Kwame Nkrumah. He was such a colossus of a politician that people, thought that no, this man is not a normal human being. And that's why they were saying he's a wizard.
I want to talk about your time at a Palm Secondary School.
That's right.
Which teachers impressed you most? And what did you pick from the school that informed your values in life?
At Palm Secondary School, interestingly, I would hazard this to say that it was the first cosmopolitan school in Ghana, because all the tribes in Ghana were there. That's the first thing. We had Liberians there, we had Nigerians there, we had African Americans there, and some of our tutors were Americans, Pakistanis, Indians, and British. So it was a kind of place where a lot of people went to Apam Secondary School. They had never been to Accra, but they learned Ga in Apam Secondary School, because a lot of the people were from Accra who were coming there. And when Apam had a fanfare before our speech day that week, all the schools in Accra, Achimota, Accra Academy, Odogono, St. Mary's, they all say, hey, we are going to Apam fanfare. No joke at all. And it was because the headmaster at that time, P.A. Oredu, may he rest in peace, was a man of style. In fact, he was the first person who made a school film.
A school film?
Yeah, Palm Secondary School had a school film. And because of that, I actually have created something that if, I do have the resources, I will do. I call it POW Stuff. P.A. Oredu Student Film Festival. Such that will honor that idea, that mind that he had, that you have to make a film to capture students, tutors, pantry workers, security men, everybody in the school for a certain given period. So that when you have left the school, you can always come back and say, that was me, that was that guy. And it was such a fantastic thing that every year, after that film was made, every year when we are going to have our speech day, we show that film. And you can imagine the excitement that followed watching just that film. But we had masters, because Oredu himself, he was a history lecturer at Adisadel And then when the Gav Johnson, who was the first headmaster from secondary school, he left, he had to be brought in there as headmaster. So he came there as headmaster. And he brought that strict, Anglican, he was an Anglican, that strict training and whatever to upper secondary school. And also because he's a royal from Bantama in Kumasi. A lot of the rich people in Kumasi thought that, if their own is a headmaster in Fantaland, where education started, then I should send my son there. So DKCs were there, the Makohenins were there, the Nsiansaris were there. I was in the same dormitory with him. I was in the same room with him. Yes, he and the doctor, Nsiansari, were in the same dormitory. And that is the kind of human beings that we had there. And we had this Parker from Liberia, Al-Masudi Amasa Raji from Nigeria, Fulawiyo, Tunde Fulawiyo. There were human beings, all characters, in Upper Secondary School. So when you go to Upper Secondary School, by the time you pass through the school, you would have had such a scope of thinking, your worldwide.
Are there any students that you recall to be outstanding intellectuals, and then on the other hand, troublesome ones?
Oh my God. Apam was so good in the arts. In fact, for many, many years, almost every year, about 40% of the students at law school were from Apam Secondary School. The immediate past Chief Justice was a Apam student, old Apam. He was actually a year ahead of me in school. We had, at a point, 3 justices of the Supreme Court, all old Apam students.
Interesting.
And so the arts, we had the best historian, the headmaster himself, and his assistant, who was also a historian. And then we had, Rajaratnam, who was an Indian, who was teaching literature. And then later Rajaratnam left, and Peter Lavelle came. Peter Lavelle was a classmate to A.S. Hornsby, the man who wrote the Advanced Learners Dictionary. We go to class, we're doing P.A. Trejuju and Ogundupe, practical English.
Of course.
Yes. After every chapter, there's, some, exercise at the back, 10 questions, Then after teaching, you come and say, number 2, number 7, number 9, don't do them, they are wrong. I'm telling you.
Who would do that? Hornsby?
No, Peter Lavelle.
Okay.
And that man, teachers bluff, with their knowledge. They bluff, when they teach. But this man, he was teaching English language, Form 4, Form 5, literature, lower 6, upper 6, and then literature, Form 4 and Form 5. Different kinds of books. Julius Caesar, the Rivals, this, that. And anytime he's coming to class, he's holding just a piece of chalk. Ask him any question.
He's memorized everything.
He has memorized everything. And so I was stood there and I watched him and said, hey, this man, how? I mean, I was an ex-serviceman. He had been, to war and had come and whatever. Even the wife was a Chinese. So that man thrilled me so much. I always looked at him and I said, wow, so somebody can commit stories upon stories upon stories in his head. And not just stories, just give that quotation. He will tell you which play,
which scene, which
act, whatever, which character. There was no, I remember we were arguing about this word. I've forgotten the word. One of our teachers. And then we went to Mr. Lavelle to ask for the meaning of that word. He just stood there and said, this word, you break it into 2. You have the predicate and you have the subject. The predicate is rooted in Latin. In Latin, this is the meaning of the word. So when I joined into he used that and gave us the meaning of the word. And when we went to the dictionary, same thing. I said, wow. this man is learned. You know, so that guy thrilled me so much. I'm sure that is where I lost my focus. Because I was doing science, chemistry, physics, biology, maths. That's what I took to sixth form. But my focus also shifted to literature so much that I developed so much interest there. And so I had a divided attention. Even as much as I was doing science, I was also so much interested in, you know, reading literature and all those. I read Socrates and Plato and Aristotle and things before I even went to
You're reading philosophy.
Exactly. So when I couldn't, you know, focus like that, I lost track, and so I couldn't get.
So what happened to your maths, physics, chemistry, biology?
Even though we were just 11 that did science that year, our year, we were just 11, and all the 11 were the best students. And that was when we were talking about some were going to space, some will become a doctor, some will become a pilot. So, in fact, one of my mates is the head of oceanography department, University of Alberta in Canada. Mm-hmm. One of them is a nuclear physicist, University of Chicago in the US. One of them is a dentist in Liverpool, in London. One of them, he did a computer, whatever those days, you know, he came to work with Ministry of Transport till he retired. And I wanted to do medicine. Others wanted to do engineering. We were breaks, people who were, you know, had vision. So when I lost my focus and could not get the grades to go to medical school, I said, okay, I still have talent in this area because I was good in both the arts and the sciences. Fortunately, my auntie, who used to work with USAID, you know, had a USAID director, one Dr. Olin Hess, who was writing a book, Agriculture in the Tropics, and he wanted illustrations. I also draw. He wanted illustrations in that book. So he came to our house one morning because he was working with my auntie. They would come and discuss issues. They were doing community, what we call rural development project in Atebubu. Then he saw me one day. Because I draw, I took delight in, you know, in drawing faces, drawing, you know, portraits and whatever. So he saw and said, there seems to be some art in you. Can you draw? Do you illustrate? I'm writing a book. I want someone to do illustrations for me. I said, oh, well, I can do it. Why not? Okay, there are 70. It was a book that had pictures. He said, you just look on the pictures and draw them for me. There were 70 of them. And he paid me 1 CD for each one of them.
Whoa.
And that, 1978 that I'm talking about. So when I finally came and collected, I said, oh, that looked wonderful. You know what? If you couldn't go to do your medicine, I think you can also do something great in the arts because I see some art, some creativity in you. Interestingly, the next morning, it came one Saturday morning. Sunday, Monday, I went and bought graphic by the roadside. And I saw Ghana Films advertising, looking for people to train in stage and film acting.
Whoa.
That's why I didn't know Ghana Films. I had never been there. So I said, really? Okay, let me just...
You had completed sixth form?
I had completed sixth form. I was sitting in the house. So
contemplating what to do next?
Yes. So I went to Ghana Films. About 150 people. I didn't know anyone. So I went and sat somewhere. I talked to a few of them and said, oh, they have also come for the audition. And that time, George Wilson, may he rest in peace, was the one who was in charge. He's one of the people Kwame Nkrumah sent to School of Drama and Music in London to do drama and theatre studies.
There seemed to be a certain trajectory where the leader, the president at the time, would send people to different countries that were specialized in particular enterprises to go and train.
Exactly.
With a view to coming back home to serve.
Exactly.
Because I'm well aware that Kwame Nkrumah took 4 Ghanaian tailors to Savile Row to go and learn how to sew a suit.
Fantastic.
You know, the man from Winneba, Dan Morton is one of them.
That's right.
And my former tailor, may he rest in peace, J.C. Williams is another one of them.
That's
and
right.
then Jamfi Brothers is another one of
Brothers.
them. Exactly.
When I did No Time to Die,
yeah,
the what do you call it? The tailcoat.
Yeah.
Was made by Jamfi Brothers.
Interesting. So that's one of the 4
that's
that
right.
Kwame Nkrumah took to London to learn how to make a suit. so they could come home and we would stop buying suits elsewhere. So they would train people here
Wow.
to know how to make
Yeah.
them. So it's interesting to
Baba
hear.
Nkrumah took Adlida Magache, George Wilson, Frances Sophia Loco, Kwabena London.
Sophia Loco.
Yes, she was the director of School of Performing Arts.
Fantastic.
You know,
And they went
to School of Drama and Music in London to train, and so that was what he was using. He was using the syllabus of London School of Drama and Music to train us at Ghana Films. So I had started Ghana Films when one morning my colleague in school, Alex Bannerman, he decided to go and do camera and animation at NAFTI, Akroma.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, and we were body because the two of us won art competition, the whole Ghana, the junior secondary school level. Yeah. You know, close season. You draw.
Those days it wasn't junior secondary school. It was
Secondary
1 to 5.
That's right.
And then sixth
sixth
form.
form.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, and so I had gone out again, like as usual, to buy newspapers when I saw Alex. Alex was, you know, at his wit's end. I said, what is wrong with you? He said, oh, David, we are in a big mess. One of our mates, Sami Adanu.
Sami Adanu?
That's right. He's doing his final year project. And ironically, the title was The Way to Shame.
The Way to Shame.
That's right. And the lead actor had not showed up. And it was around 9:30. And that time, they were giving them 5 days to do your production, 30 minutes final year production. If the 5 days elapses and you have not finished, they will defer your course.
You know, Sami Adano later worked with TV3 and became the managing director of Adesawe Productions Limited. And as I'm speaking right now, he's the head of content and production at Class Media Group. He's the head of production at CTV. And he's the one directing this shoot right now.
Oh, Sami, thank you so much. Wonderful. So he said, David, you will have to, as for you in school, you were in a drama club, I could remember. Why don't you please just step in?
Come and help us.
You can help us to play there.
And the students, they're not going to pay you, are they?
Oh, no. So I just did that. I said, okay, let's go. Let me just quickly go home, change, and then we'll go. And I went and did it. And that was my very first experience with movie. And that time, you know, after, before they shifted to video, they were actually shooting celluloid. You know, so we shot that film. And after, we shot Adanu's production. All the other, you know, the students who are sound men, lighting men, whatever. So when we finished, all the others who wanted to do their production, they were saying, hey, if you want somebody to play a lead role for you, look for that guy. They were calling me Ghana's Marlon Brando. So I started playing NAFTI student films. I acted in those films. I played. Meanwhile, that same period, I was training at Ghana Films. And then a friend who was with us at Ghana Films, who was then with Ghana Theatre Club, that was at the Art Center, and the late Emery Brown, decided that, oh, David, I am a member of a theatre group, and I think you deserve to be, you know, in that group. I will take you there, introduce you to them and whatever. So, and that was 81, the day Bob Marley died.
Oh.
That was the day I was auditioned into Ghana Theatre Club. And I did, you know, the first play with them, Back to Mau Mau.
Back to Mau Mau.
Yeah. The Kenyan independence struggle. And then we did the struggling black race. And then we had started rehearsing to say, beginning of 82. But Rollins had done the coup 31st December. And so many things, you know, had changed in the system because he had been around 79. So when they heard that he was back, so many things, you know, went haywire. A lot of people were running helter-skelter. Talents were doing Black Star. And there was this guy who was playing Centaur. And the mother was married to one Mr. Dusey, who was also a political activist of a sort. So the man, he had actually been living in UK for some time, and he kept, commuting between, And so he said the son, who had also then finished his form, should come, should go with him because the coup is going to spoil the system. He's not going to have any future. So he took the boy out without even telling. That time, Kofi Potoffi was the director of the Talents Theatre Company. So they took him away. And so they were looking for somebody to come and play Sentua, who was the son of the president, the teacher of Africa, which I eventually ended up playing actually.
Yeah.
So they came for me from Ghana Theatre Club. That Grisumabo and Benis Ahlija, they came there and said, David, come. There's a play that there's a role for you. You can play it. We know you can play it. So come. So I had to leave Twinese. We were rehearsing Twinese. I had to leave Twinese and then come and join Talents for the Black Star.
Now hold it right there. When we come back, more with the acting legend David Dontoh, only on Master of the Game on CTV, Ghana's #1. We'll get to find out what it feels like acting on stage and acting for screen. And then we'll talk about the differences between character acting and method acting. And we'll get to see more of the work of David Dontoh for his beloved motherland Ghana and for art and culture all around the world right after this.
Eba meye autopass ye ka ho adwuma bibia efa ka ho wode ba meye autopass ye be yamo ye ka ahuru ka bi ti se Toyota, Nissan, Honda, Mitsubishi na Korea ka bia se ehu atochima na opa obi a obeye ni yie na enkwaja okwantefia hwe meye autopass and diagnosis services ye be yamo kama minnim die hia se wo ka na wo ka no so wo ho dia aha ana wo sa wo du ani kire ka bie kita wa wo problem hwehwe o mo ekira kwan na o mo bebo when you are from say explaining engine anything hwehwe o mo ekira kwan na o mo mo
afei so ye was spare part shop kese pa e wa boso kan a ukopie mu a ka ho nneoma bia wo pe bia no ubenya bi wo ho
Mayor Auto Pass and Diagnosis Service. Ye home services say ebia o ka no e wo fie na pe say ye be ye ho adwuma wo fie ma ye be servicing to say oil brake pad ye betima be wo fie say office su na wunya adaji emfa mba ha na pe say ye be fa car no ye ho adwuma ma wa ye betima ba office wo na ye be fa car no na ye ba be ye ho adwuma kama ye wi a ye di wadi abrel ye wo drivers a umukwa license a ofa o car obesan dia abapepepa asambia emba ho ohwe meye auto pass and diagnosis services a ye wa Blekuma New Town ye numbers a ye di adwuma e 0244 451 776 and 0244 264 995
meye auto pass we are the best. Open up those gates.
Party time on one fair. Ola Bawo. As I introduce to you Safari Zoom Flex live on Ghana's #1. With Zoom Flex, you can join the fun wherever you find yourself via Zoomer. Ella, don't shake the body. God, it's Friday. Of course, time is 10 p.m. sharp on on Ghana's number one with the man them DJ Last Week Official. We say Ola Ba Wo.
Give me the move, give me the vibe, give me the move, give me the vibe, give me the move, give me
CTV, Ghana's number one.
Hello, hardworking traders of Ghana. I've got terrific news for you. If you have goods to sell in a store, shop, market, or online, call Beautiful Betty or Handsome Kojo Asari on 0245 929 220. That's 0245 929 220, and we will help you sell faster to more customers. Customer. See and hear the adverts on CTV, Ghana's number one, and buy at good prices. CTV and all our radio networks across Ghana is helping traders connect to customers here, there, and everywhere. To sell your goods to more customers, call Beautiful Betty or Handsome Kojo on 0245 929 220. That's 0245 929 220. Class Media Group. We help traders sell to more customers.
It's party time. On one of them, Ola Bawo. As I introduce to you, Safari Zoom Flex live on Ghana's number one. With Zoom Flex, you can join the fun wherever you find yourself via Zoomer. Ella, just shake the body. But it's Friday. Of course, time is 10 p.m. Sharp on Ghana's number one with the man them DJ Last Week Official. We say Ola.
written and sang by one of the greatest singers of all time, Robert Nesta Marley. To you and I, Bob Marley. Bob Marley, at the beginning of May 1981, left Germany to return to Jamaica, but he did not complete the journey. He succumbed to cancer in Miami in a hospital on May 11, 1981. And it was the day after Bob Marley died that you were auditioning.
In fact, it was that day.
The day itself.
The May 11th. That was the day that I was being auditioned to join Ghana Theatre Club. It was at that rehearsal that the news broke out. That, hey, have you heard? They said Bob Marley is dead.
And you chose the song for us to play.
That's right.
Why?
You see, as people, Africans especially, there's a line in this song, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. And just ties into the personality of Kwame Nkrumah. And that is where I think my link was. I mean, it was like, it was destined to happen that way. Because I fell in love with that man, so much so that I was following him. Interestingly, I've played him in about 4 different stage plays. I've played him in a film. And the first stage play I played him in fact, it was the second. That was the trial of Kwame Nkrumah. The night before the opening of the play, I dreamt and saw him. I was walking on a footpath, and there was a small stream that they had put a log across that you walk on the log to cross the other side. So as I was walking, I was just, thinking about so many things. When I stepped on the log, I saw a woman carrying firewood, also coming from the other end. So I just stepped off for the woman to come and pass before. So when the woman passed, and I was, continuing by stepping on this thing, I heard someone clear the throat. And you can imagine a footpath leading to the forest. I looked all around. I could not find anyone. Then it came again. Then at the end of the stream was this tall palm tree. So I heard the sound coming from up there. So I lifted my head, and there he was. He was sitting right among the branches of the palm tree in 3-piece suit. But he looked like somebody who was just waking up from sleep. So he did this to me. Then I should wait. He's coming down. And then I don't know what happened. My eyes opened. My eyes just opened. So if he was coming to talk to me, he couldn't get to talk to me. If he was going to tell me anything, he couldn't get to tell me. But all his, mannerism was that, stop, I need to tell you something. That's why he's coming down. And that was the extent to which he had gotten into my DNA. So
you believe in spirits?
Yes.
Do you believe in spirits?
Do I believe in spirit? I think there is spirit. There is spirit in the sense that anything that doesn't exist has no name. Once it has a name, it means spirits exist.
Do you believe that, as you even told the story, a spirit snapped one of your bracelets?
Certainly. Certainly.
Did you feel it?
I
noticed it.
I couldn't imagine how it would come off, but it did come off.
Snapped?
Yes.
And the pieces fell to the ground.
That's it. So spirits are there. There are spirits. In fact, at times when by yourself in your quiet time, you can feel, you can hear some breeze or air that passes by, and it's like it's talking to you. You don't see anyone around, but you hear. It doesn't happen just like that.
And looking at life in retrospect, knowing the things we know now, learning the things we have learned now, knowing of the words that were said against him and the persecution, and now learning that he took none of the nation's resources.
Exactly.
And that he stole nothing for his family, and that he only wanted the best for Ghana and the unity of Africa. What do you say to those who, in their animosity, wanted to destroy Kwame Nkrumah?
First, it was jealousy. And then, of course, followed by wickedness. Because if you are not envious of someone, nothing will strike you to want to eliminate him. But you know, he survived 6 assassination attempts as head of state. But in spite of all of that, he still did marvelous. He was African of the millennium. They voted him African of the millennium.
Not of the century, of the millennium.
Exactly. Including the Mansa Musas and all of them. So you can imagine the stature of that human being. Somebody who was in, political power for 9 years and wrote 16 books. Somebody who will come to the office is the first person to arrive in the office. And the last person to leave the office. But the first person also in the office the next morning. And so people are saying that he was a wizard because they didn't know what time he slept. He will go to Parliament, he will come to work at Flagstaff House, drive to Winneba to go and lecture there. The day he won't lecture there, he comes to say, he had a theatre group of Sajifo players that George Wilson was the director. He will come and sit in the rehearsal and do the discussion of the postmortem with them.
Do you miss him, or is it his words or his aura?
I miss him. I miss whatever he did, and it's unfortunate that
there are tears in your eyes. There are tears in your eyes.
Yeah, we could not get that close to get that much from him physically before he died. But he did so well. He captured a lot of his ideas in books.
Let's go hear him.
Evergreen memories. Wow. We kind those days and in front of him. Abraya buffer from now parenting, Eddie or more and quada eba. You know, one corner and me put some for say. And a baby. But I'm check. We bonded as colleagues at the dining hall, the dormitories, classrooms. It's just say, me not can you boom precope. But the question is, and now we will be hey, now squad you are here. Olege wa hi. Fluzy. Any boys in here. Where you stay? If you school no, obiara buy ne kwan. Ebinim tu kwan. Ebinim ko university. Ebinim bo abrabọ mu nsɛm they had to retire to the villages. We are here to reunite you and ensure that we can help each other. But before that, school now will call St. Louis, Ola, Wegehe, Holiko, Preset, and St. Peter's, and now Bishop Herman, and St. Augustine. This is the platform for you. CTV Adaroma. The most program neighbor, family and friends reunion. Join me, Dr.
Kuma, on Master of the Game with my special guest, acting legend David Dontoh. You heard those words?
Fantastic words. That man was a visionary par excellence. He was seeing way ahead of time, 50, 100 years. But we did not understand him. I'm sure his peers at the time did not actually understand him. And that was perhaps some of the reasons why they actually bent to machinations to, take him out of power. This man had what it takes to really build a nation, looking into the future, looking at your resources that we have, looking at everything that you have done. He's one person who has that. And if, for me as an actor, I have the opportunity to play him, I'm actually becoming a bridge between him and the present generation. It's like that we can learn and get to know that this is the man and this is what he did and this is what he said, which is good. All what he's saying actually, resonates with us today. People still think that what he said, if he's saying it today, it will still be relevant, And that is why, for me, one thing that I will actually plead with the current president to try and do is to have what we call presidential heritage documentaries. If Kwame Nkrumah didn't keep these documentaries, we would not have ever got to know of him through film, through all those things. If we do presidential heritage documentaries, when you leave power, the next person who comes has something to look on and learn from, be sensitized from, pick a few things from.
And for this, I must also congratulate the cinematographer, Chris Hesse.
Yeah.
I recall on one occasion, Chris Hesse had filmed so much. And in those days, you had to use your film proper.
Exactly.
And he had filmed so much that whilst Kwame Nkrumah was giving a speech somewhere along the line, the tape was running out.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And the lesson from that is film, but know what to film and when to cut.
Exactly.
So that you can save material for what is yet to come. But Chris Hesse, thank you so much. Great work. Great work.
Cameraman.
Kwame Nkrumah's cameraman.
He took him everywhere he went.
Exactly the correct words.
Yes.
Kwame Nkrumah's cameraman. A great cinematographer.
And that's what I want, not only even the current president, but every president that comes to Ghana. It's a document that we deserve to have. There should be a presidential library.
But for
that
these,
you can just walk there.
But for these being there still, people would twist these words.
Oh yeah, of course.
But the reality is there for us all to hear.
Exactly so. And that is why it's important to capture them as document. Make a documentary of it and keep it. So that when people are giving you a double tongue at a point in time, you just play it back. You can refer to it and let them know what actually you said. And so presidential heritage documentaries, actually, initially is PhD. It's very, very key, very, very important. And also going to help our governance, in this country. If you're a president and if you have the opportunity of sitting down 4, 5, 6 hours watching documentary of your predecessor or predecessors, wow. The motivation that you will have, the sensitization that you will have, the ideas that will dawn on you for you to do even better than what you have seen is good for our governance. And that is why that thing is so key, so important that we must not lose behind. And that's why I'm so proud to be one Ghanaian who played him in 4 stage productions. African Experience, The Trial of Kwame Nkrumah.
I've seen The Trial of Kwame Nkrumah. I haven't seen the others.
Oh, okay. Nkrumah
and you were fantastic. When are you staging that again?
Well,
The Trial of Kwame Nkrumah should be staged every 6th March. Every 6th March. Funded by some state agency, supported by some private enterprises.
And that was why I was also doing the reenactment of the Declaration of Independence at the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park. I was doing it. I was playing him.
So have you got all your actors together?
Oh, the actors are always available. They are there. If we say we are doing it this year.
Class Media Group is keen on ensuring that we can have it this year on 6th March. Is it possible?
Why not?
Let's get together, because we must be able to raise money from the National Lottery Authority and a few others, and then we'll put this production together. Students must see this. Young people must see this. They must know the history of Ghana.
One time I was doing it, Comrade Dumo at that time was with BBC. BBC came and was carrying the event live. And after the event, he was interviewing me. And there was this guy who had come all the way from Grenada to watch the event. He had come to Ghana as a tourist, and he knew that thing was coming up, so he came there. The guy was crying, shedding tears like that. Said, I could see Kwame Nkrumah in you. That was captured for that film. And I was in Kente and the Buba, So the day we shot it, in fact, we shot it in the lobby of the Namibian Parliament House. We were shooting when they had closed for Parliament and they were leaving. So one of them saw me, and apparently he had a picture of Kwame Nkrumah in his mind. So he stopped and looked at me again and said, you must be from Ghana. I said, yes. What are you doing? I said, I'm playing Kwame Nkrumah in the... Look, the man just melted. He took pictures with me. They took picture of me and everything. Even when I brought the picture, I put it in front of Graphic Showbiz. That time, Adokwe Moffat was the one who took it. And he said, the moment he saw me, it was like he was seeing Kwame Nkrumah himself. Not physically, but so many things that Kwame Nkrumah did that they knew, had read about, started pouring into him. And he thanked me so much for being able to play him. I said, well, I've been playing him every now and again.
They say a prophet is never accepted.
The Black Star also.
A prophet is never accepted in his own hometown. But I must admit, from childhood till now, I have not met one Ghanaian yet who speaks ill of Kwame Nkrumah. Not one. So I wonder, who are the people who have bad things to say about him?
Well, whoever has any bad thing to say about Kwame Nkrumah is saying it because he actually didn't know Kwame Nkrumah. He has not taken the pains to read or watch anything about him. Because Kwame Nkrumah was a likable character, an affable character.
But some want to blame him because of the Detention Act.
You see, the interesting thing about the PDA was that, I told you that there were 6 assassination attempts on him. And because people liked him, they were singing about him, Nkrumah showboy, Kwame Nkrumah this, Kwame Nkrumah that, and all of that. So anytime things happened and people were arrested, he feared people would rather attack those people. So we'll put you in detention to prevent people from attacking you. And that's why he created the
But did he create it, or did Parliament assent to it?
The Parliament actually, endorsed it. He actually did not do... The interesting thing about that man is that everything he did, he passed it through Parliament. So he never did anything on his own. The same Ghanaians today who are saying, he did the PDA and all of... He actually proposed, and they bought into the idea and passed it in Parliament. And so people actually kept out of, you know.
So if you have a problem with it, get every member of parliament who signed it into law.
Exactly. You know, but like Luma said, the page in our door, no human being will get everybody to like him in total, you know.
Let me bring you back to your career. So you did stage for years, and then you ventured into film. Tell me about your film career.
Yeah. And, you know, stage, as in theater, is the basis of all of this, our industry. Film is actually theater on screen, we say. If you are an actor and you really want to call yourself an actor of substance, you must start training on stage. Because it's on stage that you learn demeanor, body language, proper facial expression, voice projection, gesturing. All these are aspects of acting. On stage, it's actually loud, wide, and broader, we say. But it is when you have experienced the scope that you now can temper it and bring it down in very subtle manner to play it for camera. Because the camera will now multiply it for you. You don't need to multiply it yourself. You know, so my training in theater, my, experience in theater was such that it prepared me so well. And I happened to be doing so many things. I was doing radio theater. I was doing television, drama. We used to call it Story House. That became TV theater, and I was acting on stage. And I was doing films. I did Kukrantumi, The Road to Accra as my first major feature film.
Yeah.
And that was 1983. That was when I had, gone through George Wilson's training. I had done, stage productions. I had done so many things. I had done radio theater and all those things. So when I auditioned, and I won't say by accident though, but they were auditioning for characters to play Kukrantumi, The Road to Accra in the Ghana films, and because we were then training there with George Wilson. I didn't bother to, because I felt I still needed some more training and all of that. So, hey, as for film, I don't come anywhere. I mean, feature film. Then acting tete. That's Kukrantumi, The Road to Accra.
That's right.
Oh, boy. Felix Labi, the driver's mate, he passed on some years back. And then Ernest Youngman, Kofi Youngman, he's the one, And these were characters, in Kukrantumi,
The Road to Accra.
So, Acting told me, they're auditioning for film, why don't you go and try? Because I think you can get a role to play. So I went, they auditioned me. I remember Ingrid Metner, she was the, I think, art director or something, and she said, look at his fingers. He's like somebody who can play piano, They were making all kinds of comments about me, and that they think I can play that role because if it's a palm wine tapper, and I have lived in the village, I have actually gone on palm wine tapping and stealing in the village, in Abakrampa, actually. Then I should get that role to play. And that's how they took me, because I had not actually, they had started auditioning about 2-3 days before I went. And then I rather got to play Bob, in Kukrantumi, The Road to Accra. And that was my very first film, directed by King Ampao, And the interesting thing, or the coincidence of Kukrantumi, The Road to Accra, is that the person who wrote the script was called David Kwame Dontoh.
Interesting.
He was the son of my headmaster in elementary school, Methodist Primary C in Cape Coast, Master Ephraim Dontoh. And so when I saw the script and they were saying that is David Kwame Dontoh's script, I said, how did you? I said, that is the person who wrote the script. It's not you. But I'm also Kwame, even though in fact we say Ato, So I was so thrilled to play in a script written by another Dontoh. I said, oh, fantastic. So, that was just by the by. But when I played in Kukrantumi, and people started talking about Kukrantumi because, interestingly, that was the first African film to show on free-to-air television in Europe, NDR TV, in Hamburg.
You made history.
Yeah. So I was walking to our center from Tema Station when a guy saw me and called me and he said, are you an actor? I said, yes. Have you played in any film of late? I said, oh, the only film I've done that time was Kukrantumi, The Road to Accra. I said, aha! I watched you, but you were speaking German. Do you speak German? I said, no. Maybe they dubbed the German.
Exactly.
He said, wow, I'll get you the cassette. So he went and he gave me a time to meet him there. He gave me the cassette of Kukrantumi, The Road to Accra, in which I was speaking German. Interesting.
Beautiful voice synchronization, right?
I tell you, So the guy got so much into me. And I didn't stop there. I was still doing the NAFTI student productions. But also, the stage productions that I was doing, I had done Black Star, I had done Jogolo. Then I did Mambo by Professor Jody Graft. If you remember...
What was the story of Mambo?
Mambo is an adaptation of Macbeth. If you remember years back when we met in UK, at Miss Ghana UK.
Yep.
I did a piece from that play.
Interesting.
Mambo was thinking about succeeding his uncle, and the uncle had a son who had traveled out for further studies, and he was going to come back. And he was musing with himself that, hey, if this guy comes back, where would I be? That kind of thing. And that soliloquy that Mambo did was one soliloquy that has stayed with me since 1984.
Wow.
And I won my first Best Actor award with that play.
You remember the line?
Yes.
Let's go. That's your camera.
Daylight or darkness, morning or night, nothing seems like itself to me anymore. How swiftly the mind loses its bearing once lured of its familiar course by unnatural desires. And yet, what's more natural than that I should inherit Brimpong should he die today? Tomorrow? Is it not a time-honored custom among our people that a nephew shall inherit his uncle, his own mother's brother? He said that age was telling on him. But who knows? He may yet live another score of years easily, seeing how well preserved he is. And what then? Kwasi Kyei returns home in September. And where would I be then? At his elbow, as my uncle says, to guide him. Guide him to more money and all the things that money can buy. Mambo the donkey, forever the beast or burden that brings home the heavy contracts, the billion-dollar dividends for Brimpong and his son. Oh, what an unjust world. That was the soliloquy. And this was Mambo musing with himself about his fate when the man's son returns, from abroad. And I liked the way. I like the way, and Professor Jody Graft,
beautifully written.
He was an African who was teaching Englishmen English. He was a professor of literature in English language, and this adaptation, no one has ever done it, where he actually split the Mrs. Mambo, which was Lady Macbeth, into 3 different women. And each one represented a certain aspect of the character of Mrs. Mambo. Character will bring in character acting.
That's why I wanted you to also explain character acting and method acting. Can we go there now?
Yes. Character acting has a lot to do with all the visuals, so to speak, that you can think of, of acting. As in your demeanor, in your mannerisms, in your gestures, in your speech, in your facial expression. All these are things that you can, quote unquote, copy and deliver. You're actually mimicking or
imitating, for want of a better word.
Imitating a character. But method acting, I started practicing method acting when I actually played Kwame Nkrumah in the trial of Kwame Nkrumah.
Yeah.
And the experience I had with that thing was that when the play ended, 87 talents, we did a festival of 7 plays, and one of them was the trial of Kwame Nkrumah. When I finished doing that play, for about 3, 4, 5, maybe 1 week, I couldn't come back to myself because I was
you were still
acting, walking.
You were still in character.
Yes. I just got locked, so to speak, in the character. Method acting, you actually not copy the character, but impersonate the character to a point where you are now the character and the situations he or she found himself or herself. So, if I was reading something on social media when Idris Elba was saying that Denzel Washington, he's a method actor.
Denzel is a method actor.
Yeah. When Denzel Washington, paced him off, but he actually didn't understand him then that, he was method acting. They met at breakfast table. He was supposed to shake his hand in American Gangster or something like that. He was supposed to shake his hand. He refused. No, he had been in character because in the film, he's his enemy. He doesn't have to shake his hand. And, he had imbibed the character to a point where he was living as that character. And you have to actually make sure that you lose that character when you finish playing the role. And at times, that's how come they go on holidays. You need to unwind by taking a break at the beach, at some place by yourself, so that you now can recollect your very self, your original self. But method acting, Stanislavski, the Russian who actually, propounded, method acting, says that, for someone to succeed in method acting, you must read your script 3, 4, 5 times. You first read the script like anybody will read any script, any book, any novel. Second time, you read the script to know the characters in the script. The third time...
Not just your own, but the others.
No, the third time is when you read your own, to know who you are, your interrelationship with other characters in the play. And then the fourth one is when you learn your dialogue. And the dialogue that you learn, you must actually learn the dialogue because you had a way of relating to every character. The way you speak to a pastor is not the same way you will speak to a mechanic. It's not the same way you speak to the tomato salad makola. So you have to learn all of that. And you have to take all the scope of characterization across a period of time and make it your own and be that character.
And that's the method.
Yes, that's the method acting, which is different from character acting that you can just walk out of the character. Once you go off stage, you can just walk out of the character.
So in playing Kwame Nkrumah, you essentially were what? Method acting or character acting?
I was actually doing method acting because I wanted to speak like him, walk like him, just behave like him. And it got into me so much that after playing him on stage in that play, for about a week, I could not get out of the character of Kwame Nkrumah. The way he walked, the way he, acknowledged people around him.
His mannerisms?
Mannerisms, the way he spoke, everything. So that's when I came to understand that if you want to do method acting, then you must have reached the apogee of your acting career. Because once you enter it, after playing the character, whether on stage or in film or anything, when you finish, you have to have some time off to unwind and come back to yourself. And that is how come when this man, Christopher Lee, who used to play Dracula.
Who used to play all these horror movies.
Exactly.
Even
People
in real life, he was
people
scary.
see him and run away because he just looked the character.
That was method acting.
Yeah, he was also a method actor. And so method acting is good, but you watch it. If you're an actor and you are going to do method acting, then you should prepare yourself for it because it entails a lot of research, a lot of homework.
I want to speak about one of the greats. When it comes to Africa filmmaking, we talk of Usman Sembene, who made Zala. But then we also speak of a great Ghanaian called Opening Kwao Pencil Ansa. You had the privilege of working with him, not only in film, but also in commercials.
And also on stage.
Also on stage.
That's it.
Tell me about him. And your relationship with him.
Exactly. We share some, funny anecdote when we meet. We were shooting. I think
that's him on screen.
That's him.
Opening Kwao Pencil Ansa. In my master's dissertation, I dedicated Kwao. I wrote on the films of Kwao Ansa.
Yes. Oh, fantastic! Yeah. And when we were actually doing the advert, the national lotteries, Dr. Lotto Buster.
Yeah.
Anytime we had a break, that is his Target, which he used to be
Target advertising.
Beside the hotel president.
Yeah.
He had a canteen. They were cooking everything inside there. You eat inside, so you don't go out or that kind of. So we're just having fun when I was telling him a tale about how when President Liman was overthrown, it was reported on GBC One radio at that time. And a friend, I know he added his own whatever to it, but it was so funny that it became an anecdote between us. He said, Radio Ghana Kikira, Tuhuntahanla, President Hillary Liman Labashari Bongo.
What does that mean?
I don't know what it meant. And when Kwasi overheard me, doing this with colleagues, and he called me, he said, hey, Atonla. He said to Huntaanla. So when we meet, we share that anecdote to Huntaanla. Sansa is a director's director. He is someone who is so meticulous to a fault. He wants every detail the way it should be, because he thinks that what you are capturing is a document that will be lying there for ages to come.
Forever.
So this is where you should do your best. I don't take anything less than your best. So I worked with him. He wrote Mother's Tears, a stage production, and I played in Mother's Tears in 2 different characters at 2 different times with him. I did this National Lotteries advert. I did ABCBA advert. I say, yeah,
advertising manager.
Exactly. I did even Star. When Star wanted to introduce the mini bottle, I actually did the advert. And so many other.
And I love that he actually chose actors to act in the commercials.
Exactly. You see, you are painting images, and the images must come to life. They must stand out. People must see it and have joy in seeing the characters. Not just anybody, And for him, if you are doing an advert, the reason why you say it's an advert is that you are advertising a product. You want people to fall in love with that product. That love travels through the character you see. So the person is an actor already, people know. They translate the love and affection and whatever they have for that actor to the product. In fact, because of me, for many, many, many years, and even now, when you go to the north, they prefer ABC to any beer. Still, as I speak, people still buy. People see me and even, mistake me for what do you call it? This man, George Williams. You know, George Williams played in that his series. I've forgotten the title of the series. This popular series that was on television.
He did a program for kids. That's not the one you're talking about.
No. You are talking about
Kitty Boobs and Kitty Babs. No.
Yeah, not Kitty. Yeah, but George Wilson, this guy who speaks like American.
Yeah.
You know, interesting was the one who actually brought up this Nigerian legend. This tall black man with that nice voice, very rich, you know, that speech. Ola, is it? Yeah. Ola something.
A Nigerian actor?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Now he's gone tonight. He's a bit, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
You know. Olu Jacobs. He trained Olu Jacobs.
Whoa.
At BBC. He was doing radio theatre for BBC. And Olu Jacobs had come to London as a student. And he was there. He was a producer.
Oh, George Williams.
George Williams.
George Williams.
May he rest in peace.
He spoke so
fantastic.
He spoke so beautifully.
Beautifully. You know. So, I
want to pull you back to the Kwanzaa story. Because whilst you did that stage production, I mean, the stage productions in Ghana seem to be like the preserve of the cognoscenti. It's not, we should make it more popular for every commoner to go and watch stage productions.
Exactly.
But at least when you appeared in one film of his called Heritage Africa, the whole world saw you.
I see.
With Quincy Arthur Bosomfield, my dear brother of blessed memory, and yourself leading that rebellion.
Exactly.
You were fantastic. Tell me the story there. Heritage Africa.
The Heritage Africa, as the title indicates, is just a summary of the independence struggle in Africa. And whatever he reclaimed, as in the symbolism in that kudu, that at the end of the film, you know,
the ancestral artifact.
Exactly. Yeah. Bosomville returned to the mother as the heritage of Africa. And he used the Ghana example. Of course, Ghana was the first African
nation to gain independence.
So he used the Ghana story. So it was partly Ghana's story, partly, you know, fictional, that he had worked so many things into, and also to tell the story of the African. You know, that's it. Such that when people watch it, they can actually read into it, you know, and be able to infer from that film that this is what he actually meant.
And even see ourselves in the story.
In it.
The way we threw our own names away to take on the names of others.
Exactly.
You know, I wonder, you know, I don't have any Japanese friends called Kwabram Puma or Akusia Brago. You know, I don't have any German friends called Achu or Eche.
That's it.
I don't have any Scandinavian friends called Komla.
So why
are we still naming our children after the slave masters?
I had a serious beef with the Catholic bishop in Adenta when my kids, my wife is a devout Catholic, and so when she was going to have them baptized, the bishop was asking of their Christian names, and I said, "Which Christian name?" My kids, they are Ghanaians, and their names are their names.
They can be Christian, but they have names.
They have names. No Chinese is called Kwame. So what are you talking about? Please, that's their name. If you won't baptize them because of that, thank you. Return them. I am a traditional African. I practice traditional African religion. I pour libation. Maybe, you know, they will be interested in doing it.
Why feel no? Why feel a fine chico?
And you see, she's an example that I actually always want to tell people, you know.
I was
No. You know, these days, and I assume a lot when I see it, that one of these days maybe I would have to appear in Parliament to talk about it. MPs, ministers, queen mothers, bleach.
What?
I'm telling you.
Bleach and memory.
Oh. Let's bet. Most of them. Which is so wrong, and that is what my wife never, ever liked. Because he thought that, your skin...
You're changing the melanin
is so
for
beautiful.
What? For what?
And there's a reason. Wole Soyinka was saying, I don't need to wear the skin of a tiger, to refer to me. When Senghor was talking about negritude, that because it's a Negro, that is how come he created the concept of negritude. No. I don't have to wear the skin of a tiger to project tigeritude. If you're an African, you're an African.
End of story.
End of story. How you are, what you are, is what makes you who you are. So, there should be no reason why our women, and especially queen mothers, you are supposed to be the mother of the entire society, the entire community. You are bleaching. So what will you tell your granddaughter, or your daughter for that matter, if she bleaches? It is never, ever right. And I think Parliament must actually look at that thing again. And please let our women of all standing. And if you have watched, these days you see a man, he's dark. His wife, so fair. The children, all black. How can that be? How can that be?
The wife has
colored
the natural.
That the wife has bleached.
Natural, yeah.
It's very, very, very nauseating, disgusting. And you see their knuckles all black, because she has bleached their feet.
Well, some of them will say, practice what I preach, not what I do. To this, the young child in the pews shouted back at the pastor, if you want me to practice what you preach, not what you do, then please get out of the way. You are blocking my view from the one I serve.
Interesting. Exactly so. And that was actually one of the reasons why I fell in love with my wife. Because of her color. Because I'm a bit fair. But I am an African.
But fair no one.
No, not at all. So I wanted someone who had the African, because my mother was as dark as her. And that's all what I love.
How many kids?
Two. I had 2 kids. A boy and a girl.
Where are they?
The boy is in Malaysia. In fact, the 2 of them were all in Malaysia. They went to university there. When they finished, the boy is working in Malaysia. The girl, the boy did computer software engineering. He's actually a flight engineer for Air Asia. And the girl did medicine. And she's doing a specialist course in pediatrics in Australia.
When was this picture taken?
when he was a kid. Jojo. Now he's a macho guy.
Yeah.
Don't go there.
Oh my.
And these 2 guys are so fantastic. So, interestingly.
Who's closer to you?
The
Naturally.
boy.
Are you sure it's the boy?
Yeah, the boy, he plays keyboards.
Okay.
He likes, he plays keyboard. But the girl is a break. Super break. The boy went to Fast Film, the girl went to Wesley Girls.
Oh, good schools.
Yes. So in the house. One is saying it is this, the other one is saying it is that. That's all. There will be a quarrel in the house between the 2 of them. And I will have to settle that quarrel. And you could tell that these are people who are so strongly independent-minded. ready to learn. And you know, I'm a bookworm of a sort. And because I read and write virtually every day, they see me every day by books. So they also read and read, and it became a habit for them to also read. Maybe that's why the boy could not do the acting, because he got to a number.
Why did you want him to do acting?
Not necessarily. I didn't want to push him into what, but he took one aspect of me, which was drawing, which was painting, and because of that, he did visual arts in Fanspeare. And can you imagine, you know, transgressing, or I say transgressing, trespassing, from visual arts into computer software engineering. You know, it's also designing.
Of course.
You know.
Now, I want to come to this. You know, every man prays that his children will find a job they love and also live with a person they love. But finding love for you has been a meandering journey. How did it begin and how did you come here? Can you just encapsulate that in only 1 minute?
My family suffered because of my acting. Because I come home late. I'm coming from rehearsal. And when I get home as I'm reading, as I'm eating, I'm reading my script. Because I should learn my lines for a shoot or for a production the next morning. And it affected, you know, my relationship with my kids and wife and things like that. But, you know, they knew that, oh, I will take Jojo to National Theatre. You know, I will give him mic. He will stand on stage, make noise, you know, all that. Just for him to, you know, have a feel of what I do and things like that. I will take them around and, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, they had their own heads, decided to go their own way. But the girl also took a part of me, which was, I wanted to be a doctor. I had a book, you know, general medicine in the house. And as she was going to Wesley Girls, when she's on holidays at home, she would read that book. And that's what influenced her, and she decided to do medicine. So in a way, I found myself in both of them. You know, even though they didn't act, I found myself in both. I mean, of course, the acting is preaching, teaching, and healing. So the doctor was there. The preaching was there. And the teaching too, you know, they will get them from school. So they encapsulated everything that I stood for, and I did, you know. And my wife, she herself was a journalist. And so, to some extent, she understood, you know, what I did. She did a bit of acting in Navasco. She went to Navrongo Secondary. That's where she comes from anyway.
Another good school.
Exactly. So, to some extent, she understood it. But there's always a limit to whatever you do. And to the extent that, you know, not only just I was not available, many times they needed me and all of that, but also stories about, no, Mohammed Okono, no boyfriend. No. By the way, you know, all those stories were done. I mean,
that may be true.
Oh, you see, in our industry, it's actually always good to be friends or be friends with people that you play your roles with, so that the person will not sink you, but rather buoy you up. So, in a nutshell, that was the relationship I had with Grisomabo. She's a very brave woman, very dynamic, and so courageous to do almost anything you asked her to do. She was actually one person who, to some extent, also influenced my life. She was the one, I had studied opera long before I went to the university to do the drama and theater studies. And she always would look at me and say, David, you are such a fantastic actor. All you need to do is just go and add a theory to it, because you have it all, you know it all. But it would be good to just go and study drama and theater.
Mami Dokro.
I experienced that.
Mami Dokro is a fantastic actress.
Oh, yes.
But the fact remains that both of you fell in love.
To some extent. Love is not a sin.
I don't know what kind of
it's not the Romeo and Juliet love.
Oh, it's great that we can talk about this and smile about it.
Exactly,
But
exactly.
let's just take a look at this and get your comment on it.
That I can, that other values will come to the fore. I mean, if this is based on control by private wealth, it will reflect the values that it in fact does reflect. The value, the highest, the only real human property is the desire is greed, desire to maximize. Now, any society based on that principle is ugly, but it can survive. A global principle is headed for massive destruction, and that's what we are. Have a mode of social organization that reflects other things are inherent in human nature and that people recognize.
And that would be, I want to see exactly
human beings. I mean, in your family, for example, it's not the case that in the family every personal gain at the expense of others, or if they do, it's kind of pathological. Care for others and concern for other people's needs and concern for fragile environment that must sustain future generations. All of these things are part of nature. These are elements of human nature that are suppressed in a social and cultural system which is designed to maximize personal gain. And I think we must try to overcome that suppression, and that's in fact what democracy could bring about. It could lead to the expression of other human needs and values which tend to be suppressed under the institutional structure of a system of private power and private profit.
Wow. Private power, private profits controlling the world. Where are we headed?
In Fanti, we have a saying, Nipa wie nipa. Nipa nuyenye nipa. In the final analysis, ultimately, you are human. And because of that, I'm actually, doing something that I actually call abua, unfortunately. A bridge of ages. A lot of people work in all spheres of life, and when they retire, then that is when they realize that there were so many things they could have done, they should have shown, they created that never came out, never, fell out. We want to bring all those people together, retirees who had wonderful ideas that they think we need, that we should be able to, to serve as a bridge between older generation and the current generation. For them to know that it's not only material wealth that matters, but your humanity is actually more important than any other thing. Don't become a humanimal. Be a human being, So if you go doing galamsey because you want gold to build houses, to buy cars, to have a chunk of whatever in your bank account, and so to speak, you are nothing in terms of your humanity or humaneness. My father will tell you, what are pearls before swine? You mean nothing to the real essence of who you are. So don't focus on only acquiring wealth. Also focus on actually living and becoming a best of yourself as a human being.
Thank you very much. David Dontoh, our special guest on Master of the Game. Thank you very much for joining us. They say it is lonely at the top. Don't listen to that nonsense. It is only lonely at the top for those who are not humane. For if you're humane and wise and act nice, you will always be in good company. See you at the top. The bottom is too crowded. My name is Darkwah, Kwasi Kyei Darkwah. See you on the next episode.
Oh, my God.